Chapter 4. Summary: bullfighting and a camp. Mrs. Dodds apparently didn't exist, according to Grover, Mr. Burner, and everyone at Yancey. Percy didn't know what was funnier, pretending she didn't or mentioning she did. It certainly made Grover sweat, but he had yet to get Mr. Burner to trip up. He was sure the teacher was having just as much fun as he was. It was this twinkle in his eye every time Percy opened his mouth. He had asked Percy for his pen back, and though Percy had been reluctant, he handed it over. Despite his good behavior, something happened in the last few days which got Percy called to the office and subsequently told he was not going to be allowed back. The excuse, something about him making too many students feel unsafe, had felt weak at best and just downright rude at worst. And everyone present had known it. Percy had shrugged off any attempts to comfort him from Grover and collect his things. It was no lost love on his part. He was just upset that his mom would be disappointed. He boarded the bus with joy, though, because he was going to get to see his mom for the first time since visiting day a month ago. Grover followed on his heels, chatting his ear off about summer camp again. The bus cranked to a stop not even halfway there. They climbed off on the driver's orders, standing a little way out of the way. Percy glanced around as the smell of thread hit his nose. "Oh," he said, and Grover followed his line of sight to 3 old ladies sitting on a bench across the road. The one on the left was knitting a sock, while the one in the middle measured the length of it out. The last held a pair of scissors. For a moment, it was like they were looking straight at him. They were smiling. Grover coughed his nervous cough, the one that sounded a little like a stuttered bleat, though Percy would never tell him that. "Percy," he hissed, "let's get back on the bus." "We can't do that." He pointed lazily at the smoking bus and confused driver. "You think that sock would fit me? It's pretty big." "Percy!" Grover pleaded. "What pretty thread," Percy mused. "So very blue." It was an enchanting color, not too deep nor too light, a perfect balance of a clear sky on a summer day. It smelled like a blast of clear wind on a warm day, carrying the faintest smell of strawberries and dirt. Next to him, Grover started hyperventilating. Percy watched, hypnotized, as the one with scissors reached out and snip! Even across the multiple lanes of traffic, cars speeding by, Percy could swear he felt the thread snap. The 3 old ladies moved as one, the one on the end finishing up their project, the other in the middle rewound the thread, and the last put away their scissors. He blinked, and they were gone. The bus driver called out for them to board. Some people cheered. They got back on board. "You okay, Grover?" he made sure to ask as they returned to their seats. Grover made a few signs in front of him in reply. He was pretty sure they were funeral rites or something of the like. How comforting. Percy, feeling a little bad, bolted the moment Grover left him alone. At the next stop he could. He caught a cab home instead, almost vibrating in his seat as they neared his apartment. "Mom!" Percy called, nearly tripping in the door in his haste. "I'm back!" "In the kitchen!" The smell of cookies greeted him, and he eagerly swiped one off the plate on the table as he passed. He walked right into her arms. "Hello," Mom greeted, hugging him back just as tightly. "Oh, let me look at you." She pulled back, a sharp eye running over him. "Scales?" she asked, gesturing to his sleeves. Percy obediently rolled them up. "A little dry, but nothing some water won't help." "Gills?" "Just fine." She squinted at him in reply, hands gently feeling about his throat. "A little stiff," he admitted under her ministrations. "We couldn't spend a lot of time in the showers at Yancey. The water automatically turned off, but I promise I feel fine, just cold. You do feel a bit cold. She kissed his forehead and ruffled his curls before finally pulling back. Go get on your big sweater. I've got a surprise for you after brunch. Percy headed for his room, placing his bag down and tugging on a big heated sweater laid out on his bed. It was dark blue, larger than most of his other clothes, so he could wear it over his layers. Yancey had heavily suggested they would confiscate it the first time he brought it with him, so Percy had sadly left it behind. "What's the surprise?" he finally asked when the chatter died down. "We're going to visit Montauk." "The cabin?" he asked, brightening when she confirmed. "When are we leaving?" "Right after you pack," she laughed when he immediately crammed his sandwich in his mouth and darted for his room. She followed him after she cleaned up. "Percy," her voice was soft. She watched him from the doorway as he scrambled for his things. He slowed. "What's wrong?" he asked worriedly. She paused, her eyes sad. The beginning of a storm had rolled in. Percy despised the lightning that would follow. "Pack that bag." His throat closed. He could do nothing else but nod, and started reorganizing what he had been planning to take. The drive to Montauk was pleasant, despite the rather large topic they danced around. The rain was only getting worse, almost as if it was chasing them. They talked about the field trip, Sally's work, upcoming plans for the summer, possible schools they had on as backup. The cabin was still fully stocked from their last visit. Percy made sure to go through and check out the bedding, while his mom double-checked the items in the pantry to make sure they weren't expired. As they sat for dinner, Sally began to talk, and a ball in Percy's gut grew. "Mom," he finally said, "you're talking in circles. Is this about the dream I mentioned? The one where a beautiful horse and an eagle were fighting each other. A black dog watched wearily from the distance. Below them, far below them, something laughed. It goaded them on. None of them ever seemed to notice Percy, even when he called out for them. Except for last time. Last time the dog looked at him." She was quiet, staring at the fire pit. "Do you remember," she finally started, "when I told you I was being selfish about keeping you with me? That there was someplace better for you to go, someplace safer?" "Yeah," he answered just as softly. He had a feeling he knew where this was going. He swallowed. "Is it time for me to go?" She sniffed. Percy easily moved closer, falling into her arms as her tears fell. She buried her face in his hair, rocking him like she did when he was younger, and the world was too much for him to handle. Outside, the storm raged on, its violent intensity increasing every minute. He had a feeling it was part of the reason for what was coming. "Mom," he started, "something happened on the field trip. I felt the need to mention it because the creature I saw was different from the usual ones. It wasn't friendly. Someone banged on the door. Both of them tensed, whipping around to the glass doors. "Grover?" Percy asked. Sally rushed to the door, letting him in. "I've been searching for you all night," Grover cried, darting in. "What were you thinking?" "What?" His friend wasn't wearing pants. Sally breathed. What does he mean? His friend was half goat. "Zeus and the other gods," Grover yelled. "It's right behind me." "What?" Percy asked, startled. "Mrs. Dodds, she turned into a creature. The one on the field trip that attacked me. I think she was one of the Furies." Grover looked behind him in fear, the smell of bull and wet fur wafting through the door. "Mrs. Jackson, we have to go." Sally jumped into action. "Bag," she ordered Percy. "Then to the car. Both of you move." She grabbed her coat and they ran for the car. Sally tore down the road. Despite the storm, Percy could barely see through. Grover sat in the back, constantly looking over his shoulder and out the window. "Where are we going?" Percy asked, breaking the tense silence. "Camp?" "Camp Half-Blood," Grover answered. "It's a safe place for people like you." "People like me?" he asked, looking at his mom. She rolled her eyes, mouthing "demigod" to him. He nodded. "And you're a goat? Half goat, so you're a stray?" "Got in one," Grover nodded. "I'm your protector. I was tasked with helping you get to camp, but you disappeared." "Sorry." He wasn't that sorry. "You were freaking me out, especially with the funeral rites." The car swerved. "Funeral rites!" Sally exclaimed. "Grover!" "I'm sorry," he wailed. "He saw the fates cut his string." "Percy!" she roared on him. "It was 3 old ladies," he defended, "and the string wasn't mine." "Seeing the fates is never a good thing," Grover groaned, having not heard him. His mom did, though, and she calmed, nodding in understanding. The car swerved again, this time around a figure in the road. The smell of wet fur grew sickening enough that Percy had to cover his nose. A weird bellowing sound followed them. "What is that?" Percy asked, looking out the back. "Who's after me?" "Oh, nobody much," Grover shakily said. "Just the Lord of the Dead and a few of his bloodthirsty minions." "Grover," Sally scowled. "Sorry, Mrs. Jackson. Could you drive a little faster, please?" "Lord of the pomegranate and flowers? It doesn't smell like that." Maybe there was a hint of pomegranate now that he focused on it, but certainly not a lot. The fur hid too much. The next strongest smell was settled dry dirt, almost like sand, which brought to mind large columns of stone and string. Grover made a questioning sound, but Sally made a hard left, sending both of them flying. They swerved down a narrow road, racing past darkened farmhouses and wooded hills. There was a sign from the strawberries on a white picket fence. "How much further is camp?" Percy asked. "It's getting closer. The smell—" The air electrified. For one terrible moment, Percy smelled ozone. It was a heavy gas smell, something he only came in contact with from thunderstorms. "Mother!" he cried in warning too late. There was a blinding flash, a jaw-rattling boom, and the car exploded. Percy was weightless for one sharp, disconcerting moment, and then everything flipped. "Ow!" he groaned, peeling himself off the ceiling of the car. They had landed upside down in the ditch. He fully slipped out of his seatbelt, eyes immediately finding his mother. "Percy!" she gasped in relief, hand grabbing his face as she quickly looked over him. Blood streamed down his forehead from a cut, and he felt a little battered, but he was okay. I'm okay, Mother. Promise, He gasped. "Grover!" he cried, wrenching his head back to look in the back seat. He was slumped over, blood trickling from his mouth. "Oh no!" He barely registered his mom's gasp. "Food," Grover then groaned. They both slumped against each other in relief. Okay, good. "Percy?" Her voice faltered. The fur smell grew sickening. "Get out of the car!" Her voice was deadly serious, and he jumped into action. Their doors were jammed shut. No matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't wedge past the mud. He moved to the back, careful not to touch the sizzling edges of the hole in the roof where they were stepping on. Sally followed him, helping him pull Grover out of the shattered back window. Rain pelted them from every angle. Shivers racked his side, just as strength filled him. "Percy!" She grabbed his shoulders, gesturing into a specific direction. "You have to run. Do you see the big tree?" He did. It had been the first thing he noticed when he crawled out. It was big, perfect for Christmas on Times Square. Pine tree that towered on the hill it stood on. It called to him, a voice curling in his ear. "That's the property line," his mom exclaimed. "Get over the hill and you'll see a big farmhouse down in the valley. You have to get to it. Yell for help. You have to." Something big and ugly roared. "What about you?" he yelled over the rain, pulling his eyes from the tree to look towards the source of the road. Lightning lit the sky. unwittingly aiding him. The Minotaur. It doesn't want me, it wants you. Her eyes were wide, wild, and scared. Scared for him, he realized. Always so scared for him. Quickly, now! He grabbed Grover, sliding his arm over his shoulder, and half stumbled towards the tree. His mother appeared at Grover's other side with his bag. Together they made slow, lumbering progress towards the tree, calling him. It wasn't fast enough. Percy could hear the monster behind them, getting even closer. It had yet to see them, but it would soon. The hill was out in the open. There was no way it wouldn't catch sight of them. "Percy," his mom said lowly, in agreement to his assessment. "When he sees us, he'll charge, just like a regular bull. Wait until the last second, then jump out of the way. Directly sideways. He cannot change directions fast enough once he's charging. Do you understand?" "Yes," he breathes. Behind them, the car exploded, and the Minotaur roared in rage. They had been found out. Running footsteps approached them. Percy and his mom tensed, waiting, counting the seconds. "Now!" They dove away from each other, Percy taking Grover. The Minotaur charged between them, unable to stop. Percy pushed himself up, dragging them as fast as he could. Behind him, he could hear his mother yell for the Minotaur's attention. A sob built up in his throat. He didn't look back, continuing to move forward. They crested the hill, and Percy gasped in relief at the feeling of safety bursting through his skin. He placed Grover by the tree, rushing back to the edge to find his mom backing up at the bottom. "Mother," he cried when the Minotaur caught her by the neck. "Mother, no!" The monster lifted her up, and she kicked and struggled. Her eyes met his, swimming with sorrow. He reached for her. She reached back. The Minotaur closed his fist around his mother's neck, and he barely registered the overpowering smell of pomegranates and honeysuckle, like flowers, before she dissolved into golden dust. Percy screamed in rage. The waves on the shore responded, clawing higher up the beach than they ever had before. The rain pelted down in a fury, swallowing any lightning that tried to strike, threatening to spear anything in it to pieces. "Hey!" Percy yelled and stepped out of the barrier. It was stupid, dumb, but it felt right. Percy was going to kill this monster, and then he would go to camp to learn. Then he would deal with his mom's disappearance. The Minotaur turned and roared again in response. A plan formed in his head. He bared sharp teeth, spread out his arms, hands clawed the rain and pine tree, whispering encouragement. "Come on then," he roared back. "Come and get me." The Minotaur charged. He wouldn't be able to dodge it. Not this time, but that was all right. He jumped up instead, catching the creature's head. He whirled around, landing on the monster's back. The Minotaur rammed straight into the tree, huffing as he bounced off it like some weird pinball. Percy reached for one of his horns, rage fueling him as he grabbed it and twisted. Snap! The Minotaur screamed. The sound spurred Percy on, and even as the Minotaur clawed and tried to buck him off, he did not slip. He plunged the horn down, straight into the monster's head. Within seconds, the bull's agonizing screams were cut. He faded right under him, and Percy crashed to the ground in a shower of gold. Percy took a moment to breathe. Pushing himself back up, he stumbled, but worked his way back towards the tree. As he reached it once more, he nearly crashed into someone. "You killed the Minotaur?" the girl said, eyes gray, looking at him like he was a puzzle she was ready to solve. She looked excited. "Annabeth," a familiar voice chided, and Percy could barely get his head to turn. "He needs aid. Let's get him to the big house." His vision was darkening. "Grover," he muttered, falling against the tree and giving in. Someone cursed. "He's bleeding!" He slipped into darkness.